What's up everyone, Thralls Metal here once again. I'm the Croc-Neck and I have an album review for you. Now, this actually comes to us courtesy of Screaming Toilet, which we haven't been connected with in a little while, mainly because COVID affected the shipping and getting the albums to us. So we're back with them and you're going to see more of these reviews. And for those that aren't familiar, this is a cool website where they review all sorts of cool pop culture stuff, movies, TV shows, even toys, comic books, and of course music. So definitely check them out. I'll have a link in the description for you so you can. So today I am reviewing the newest one from Forming the Void, Reverie. This came out on the 8th of May on Ripple Music, which, yeah, it was a while ago. We ordered it a while ago. Again, shipping issues, so we're kind of playing catch up here. This band formed in 2013 in Lafayette, Louisiana, and this is their 4th full length. Now, I actually have seen this band before. I saw them at the Ohio Doom and Stone Fest, and they were incredible, actually. They were one of my favorite bands that played. And while I was there, I actually bought all 3 of their full lengths that came out before this album, so I definitely have an idea what these guys sounded like before I even listened to them. These guys play a style of stoner / doom metal that is incredibly sludgy. I want to say these guitars are tuned unbelievably low. When our buddy Ren said that Crowbar tuned their guitar strings to floppy, I think he also meant these guys, because these guys pretty much take that sleep level of fuzz and then add that Crowbar crunch to it, and then you get something that is very along the lines of like Monolord or another band that sounds kind of like that Temple of the Fuzz Witch, which I'm not sure if anyone's really familiar with, but they were also at Ohio Doomed and Stonefest and they were really good as well. But the tone is incredibly low, but there is a little bit of crunch to it. Opening track, Sage, you can just hear it right away, like right after a quick little drum fill, boom. And unfortunately, in this mix, it is very guitar forward, and because the guitars are tuned so low, the bass is pretty much a wash in this. Like, you really can't hear it. There's really nothing distinct in there because it is very overpowered by the guitar. Now, these guys keep kind of a slow to mid-tempo pace throughout this album and pretty much just labor a nice big droning chug with atmospheric lead melodies on top. In fact, most of the atmospheric lead melodies are fiercely Middle Eastern. The songs Trace and Storm particularly have a lot of Middle Eastern influence. In fact, I believe Storm opens up with an oud actually playing like a really cool melody that just screams, "I'm lost in the Sahara," even though they're from Louisiana. But it really has that feel to it. It kind of reminds me like if Nile actually pretty much did a straight up stoner doom band, like all their Egypt stuff would fit right in with this band. Now, one thing that always stood out to me on their other releases is the vocals. The vocals are almost sort of a droney chant, but generally they have really cool vocal harmonies that kind of really lift that moment up a little bit and kind of just keep it away from the more monotone. Now, unfortunately on this one, the harmonies are really played down. They were really prominent on their album Relic, which might be my favorite of theirs, and they made the choruses really pop. This, they really don't come up much. I think Satellite is the first track I really started to notice them, and that is the second to last track. Now, granted, the vocal performance isn't necessarily bad. It is very drony, it's very chanty, and it kind of works with the theme of the music, because when it comes down to the riffs, generally it is a big, nasty, open chug that pretty much fills the space, like, you know, just single notes, and then you have a really cool lead melody again. But I kind of miss those harmonies because they really kind of just made giant hooks, giant vocal hooks in the songs. And there are some really good ones. Satellite, I think Storm also has a really good vocal hook as well. And there are some cool softer moments. Another thing that I would say is a little bit different on this album than the previous albums is the fact that I think they shortened up the songs quite a bit. In fact, in the back half of the album, none of the songs actually get over 5 minutes. And generally these guys are writing, you know, 6 to 7 to even 10-minute long songs here and there. And I feel like this album is a little condensed. I feel like there is room to actually play, build some more atmosphere, have like a longer bridge, but they didn't really do that because this album only runs 38 minutes, which is kind of short considering their other albums. You know, it just feels like they kind of went with like a minimalist approach and just wanted to make more straightforward songs rather than overloading it with a ton of atmosphere. And you know, maybe it's the fact that they just jumped on a newer label, they want to make a splash, but they didn't want to like kind of burden them with a giant album to produce. Maybe they just want to do something short and sweet, which is fine. Sometimes they kind of move into like almost 90s alternative metal. Like there's some stuff in here that sounds a lot like Tool. There's like a song on here, Hive, that has almost sort of a Helmet feel to it. Just very straightforward, driven by a nice 4/4 time, kind of mid-tempo stomp. And I mean, honestly, some of it even kind of reminded me a little bit of nu metal, but I mean, it's definitely not. Once you listen to this, you're going to say, well, that's ridiculous. But there is just a little bit of that in there. And their sound is definitely a mix of a lot of different things. Now, these songs, granted, they are a bit shorter than what I'm used to from these guys. They do build tension really well. Like when they're going into a softer moment, some nice chanting vocals and like a nice ambient melody in there, they do build up well to the big heavy moments. And when those moments are heavy, man, they are heavy. The song Onward in particular starts off a little bit softer and then kicks in this big double time chug, and man, it is just monstrous. That guitar tone really just sets the tone of this entire album in general. It's absolutely massive, and it creates its own sort of wall of sound just in that. In terms of a unifying theme across our albums, it's always been that snarled guitar tone. And honestly, I think that's a really cool thing that they're really just known for this nasty guitar tone, or hopefully will become known for that, because it is impressive. Now, songwriting wise, I think it's really good. I just think it's very condensed, and that was my real issue here, that and the lack of vocal harmonies, because the vocals can just turn into this just bland chant, and the cadences aren't particularly interesting. But the music on here is still really good. I just feel like you're getting a real condensed version of it. So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I think it's a solid album. I think it pales in comparison to some of their past stuff. Namely, just a few things they just seem like they left out, namely the vocal harmonies and the fact that the songs weren't longer. Like on a lot of the earlier stuff, they would really, you know, work a bridge and keep building it until we get right back to the meat of the song again. This one, it's very straightforward, more like meat and potatoes, but in some songs you can hear all that ambiance and different melodies, the Middle Eastern ones here. It just feels like there should be a little bit more to it, but I really did enjoy this album, and I strongly recommend it if you're a fan of stoner metal or doom metal, because it's a fun listen. But definitely check out their older stuff too, and I'm hoping these guys come out with an even beefier album next time. So if you like the review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. Catch you guys later.